top of not preparing any meals for her. Do you even have any sense of being a parent? Your husband might be out on work, but that makes it even more so your duty to care for the home and the kids, right? With my sister's past attitude being aired out, her Riens looked bewildered. Wait, didn't you say you left your daughters with your family? But the highly aghast presence of our infuriated parents, along with my mournful, burdened expression and Susan, discreetly eyeballing from behind us, painted the bitter picture that what my parents were reprimanding was, in fact, the sardonic truth. Now, the whole entourage seemed to glance at my sister with eyes filled with scorns. As if she couldn't bear the pressure of the situation, my sister continued making excuses, shaking and pale. No, that's not it. I was told my husband would be at home yesterday. Lies. So, how do you plan to explain everything up to now? Well, during this time, the local constabulary approached us. We're from the police station. There were allegations of the kids, your daughters, potentially facing neglect last night. We'd like to discuss this a bit further if you don't mind. Hang on. Before we knew it, my sister, unable to amount to any form of fortification, was escorted away to the police station. At the facility, my sister was interrogated. As this was her first administrative disquisition of such kind, she was let off with a grave censure but was, ultimately, released. Stepping forward as her claimant was my brother-in-law. It seems he was contacted by my parents the night before, making hustles to hurry back from his business trip. As my family and I were caring for the children back at my sister's and my home, my irate brother-in-law and my chagrined, mishandled sister made their disgruntled entrance by the evening. Upon seeing her father, Susan rushed to him with great joy and hugged him. Daddy! Welcome back! Susan, I'm back. I'm sorry for making you feel lonely, he said, hugging her tightly as if making up for lost time. After putting Susan and the baby to bed, my husband and I, along with our parents and my sister and her husband, had a serious discussion. When my brother-in-law demanded my sister to explain everything, she looked down with a pale face and made an excuse. I was just trying to get a change of scenery because of parental burnout. Even so, you seem to be always shopping for high-end bags. It's become quite the talk around the neighborhood, hasn't it? What? There's no way my sister could be suffering from mental exhaustion due to parenting. Convinced she was lying, I brought up information I had heard from my coworkers. I didn't hold back, recounting not only this incident but also other times my sister had acted irresponsibly while her husband was away. Hearing this, my brother-in-law became furious. You were doing all this while I was gone. To prove my point, a quick search around the house revealed a hoard of high-end items hidden in my sister's exclusive closet. So, what Kelly is saying is true, huh? Confronted with the proof, my sister reluctantly nodded in admission. She confessed to lying to her husband about their children wanting to take expensive classes and receiving a lot of money for it. Moreover, she admitted to often neglecting the children's care, not just when she was out but also when she was home. I'm disappointed in you. You always said you were handling the housework and the kids properly. Let's get a divorce, her husband declared, having lost all patience with her. With no excuses left for her misconduct, my sister quietly accepted the divorce. Despite everything, she couldn't let go of her pride in their luxurious home, begging, just let me have the house. Her husband, having no interest in the house, agreed to leave it to her in exchange for a reduction in other forms of property division. However, the story of her misdeeds spread among the neighbors and friends, tarnishing her reputation as the woman who mistreated her children and was abandoned by her husband. No one was willing to help her. She was shunned when shopping and faced rejection when attempting to find part-time work in the neighborhood, leaving her completely isolated. Eventually, my sister became unable to step out of her house and fell into a mental illness. Unable to manage her life anymore, she sought help from our parents, but since they had disowned her at the time of her divorce, they refused to get involved and turned her away. Now, abandoned by everyone, she lives miserably in what once was a mansion she bragged about, now turned into a house full of clutter. On the other hand, my brother-in-law had been trying to change his work style for the sake of the family. He had submitted a request to transfer to a department without business trips to increase the time spent with his family, and it looks like his request will soon be granted. Therefore, he decided to take custody of the children, saying, "I can't leave the kids with a sister who hardly ever took care of them." Of course, our parents wholeheartedly agreed with this decision. Susan was delighted to be living with her dad, saying, "I get to live with Daddy." My sister, with no one on her side, hung her head in defeat. After the divorce, my brother-in-law and Susan moved close to my house. To make up for the lack of interaction before, my husband and I occasionally play with Susan and her sibling. Since the incident, Susan has grown attached to us, so we often take care of her and the baby when my brother-in-law's work runs late. The baby is growing up healthy and is at a cute stage. Spending days watching the children grow, we live our days filled